All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jackie Coelho, and I'm a success coach here at FIU Online. I'm joined this evening by Joanna Coro, my colleague and fellow success coach, and we are going to be tonight's co-host for your webinar. So before we do get started, there are a few little housekeeping notes that I'd like to make note of. This session is going to be recorded and we will be sharing it to your student email address at a later date, so just be on the lookout for that. Also, there is a Q&A feature below and the chat function that I see some of you already using. So please do go ahead and let us know where it is that you're joining us from, what program of study you're in, and get to know each other there. Also go ahead and use the Q&A to ask any questions throughout the presentation. Please do refrain from putting any personal information in the question and answer section, just because this is a public forum and we want to make sure that we're respectful of your privacy. We will be sharing some contact information throughout the presentation. So if you do have any personal questions, feel free to reach out to us. And then at that point, we'll make sure to attend to your questions. We are also going to be sharing a survey at the end of this webinar. We really would appreciate your feedback. We just want to make sure that we're providing you with, content that you're interested in moving forward in future webinars in future semesters. So we would appreciate if you go ahead and take it's just a couple moments to fill out that survey. So today, Joanna and I are going to be providing you with an overview of what you could expect from your relationship with your success coach. And we also have our financial aid manager joining us, Michelle Trochet, to present on the ins and outs of financial aid. And we know that there's a lot of questions regarding financial aid. So we would love to get to learn a little bit more about you. I am going to be sharing a poll. Let me see. If you can, please go ahead and do you see the poll? Let's see, let's make sure. Here we go. All right, so I'll just give a couple moments for folks to answer here. Oh, I see these votes coming in. All right, perfect. So let me share these results with y'all. And so it appears we are all on the East Coast tonight. So give it up for the East Coast. So that's great. That's great to see. And I am going to go ahead and get started. So we really are excited for you to be joining us tonight. This is our first webinar of our online success series. And we want you to know that you're part of a huge network of fellow Panthers taking classes online at FIU. Did you know that there's more than 35,000 students currently taking at least one class online? That's a lot of students. And over 7,500 of these students are fully online students just like yourselves. So basically just know that you have a huge network of people behind you. FIU is also currently ranked #1 in the world for Quality Matters certified courses. So essentially what this ranking means is that we are committed to academic excellence, and it really is our mission to give you the very best educational experience online. Above all, FIU Online really is focused on success. So we have a team of success coaches whose purpose it is to ensure that you feel supported and have access to all of the resources that are available to you as an online student. This is a unique service that is offered to fully online undergraduate students. And ultimately, us coaches want nothing more than just to see you succeed and make sure that you meet your goals, whatever that means to you. So what do success coaches do? We actually get this question a lot. So your coach really is an added layer of support for you, and we work with you throughout your entire time here at FIU. So while you'll still be working with your academic advisor in regard to your program track and course selection or course permissions, you'll work with us, your coaches, for goal setting, making sure that you are aware of all of the resources that are available for you. And really, ultimately, we just want to make sure that you get the best learning experience at FIU. We do understand that you have full lives, and many of you work full-time jobs and you have families, you have other commitments and hobbies, things that are completely outside of school. So we really think that these are important things for us to know so that we know how to best support you. So with us, you can schedule appointments on either through Zoom or through phone call. And the coach is going to ask a lot of questions. It's going to sound like it's a lot of questions, and it's really not because we're nosy. We really just want to make sure that we get to know you, the whole person, so that we do know how to support you best. And we do work with specific focus areas that we find are the most important for student success. So Joanna's going to cover that a little bit later in this presentation. Before we move on to that, I would love for you to meet our team. So you have a dedicated team of skilled professionals here at FIU Online who are here to help you. So please just take a moment to note down who your coach is. You'll just look for your program underneath your coach's name. There is another slide with additional coaches. So if you don't see your program here, you will see it on the next slide. So here we have Eddie, Nahum, Janessa, and myself. I work with all first-time in college students. So essentially, I work with students in every fully online program. And since my group of students, it is their first time in college, they're new to the university life as a whole. So we really kind of run the gamut of different questions. As you can imagine, coming into college, there's a lot of questions. So I just make sure that they know all of, everything that they need to know, have access to all of the platforms, make sure that they know how to reach out to their advisor, how to talk to their professors, things that come sometimes pretty naturally for other students. But with this group, this is, I make sure that they know exactly what it is that they need to do. So here, next up, we have Stephanie, Joanna, and Shaquesta. Don't forget, you are going to be receiving this recording at a later time. So just in case you don't see your information, you'll definitely get to that. You'll get this information again. So we do hope that you take some time to schedule an appointment with your coach. During this initial meeting, really, the coach wants to just make sure to gain a better understanding of what your particular needs are. And so they know how to best support you. Everybody's different. So these really are just very personalized conversations, and they would love to end up getting a chance to talk to you. So here you will find our department contact information. So if you're still unsure of who your coach is, don't worry about it at all. You can go ahead and send us an email to olcoach@fiu.edu. And your coach will reach out to you. Also, our department phone number is 305-348-3125. Just choose option number 4, and you will be communicating directly with our team. So now I am going to hand this over to Joanna, and she will help give you a little more experience about what it is working with a coach in detail.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jackie, for that wonderful information. Good evening, everyone. We are so excited that you are here for our first ever webinar for FIU Online. As Jackie mentioned, my name is Joanna, and I am a student success coach here at FIU Online, and I support students within the psychology and the recreation and sports management programs. And as Jackie mentioned, your success coach is an added layer of support for you throughout your time here at FIU Online, and they will be reaching out consistently throughout the semesters just to ensure that we are discussing things with you that are important for you at any particular time throughout your educational journey. Please keep in mind that success coaching is not a one-size-fits-all, and you are a unique student. So your coaches will tailor the conversation to you and your particular needs and concerns, which is why their questions will be about getting to know you and getting to know your circumstances and how you're doing and everything like that, to ensure that the conversation is tailored and for you as this individual student. We do highly recommend that we do highly encourage you to set up an appointment as early as possible with your success coach so that you can discuss on track and make sure that we are discussing what's important to you. As you can see on the screen, we do have 8 focus areas that we work on. I will be touching more in depth about managing commitments, finances, and health and support, but I do also want to touch upon the other ones as well so that you have a broader and better idea as to what we discuss with you during our meetings. So for example, commitment to completion. We want to talk to you about your goals. We want to make sure that you're provided with resources and have that conversation, make a plan to make sure that you reach those goals and that you get to that point of receiving your degree and all of that good stuff. We also talk about university community. We want to make sure that you understand this, that as a fully online student, you are an FIU student. So you do have opportunities to be involved with FIU and things that are going to help you be engaged in the community. So for example, I work with a lot of psychology students, and I've spoken with students that have joined, for example, PASS and PsyChi, which are specific psychology related organizations that provide them with network opportunities and other opportunities to talk about career, and that helps them throughout their journey and to complete their goals. We also discuss academics and effectiveness. Your time in school is going to have a lot of academics, so we do want to discuss things like how effectively you're studying. We want to talk about how you're tackling your studying, how you're reading. I always like to tell students that academic reading is a lot different than leisure reading. So we do discuss tips and tricks on how to tackle that reading so that it can be efficient and you can be effective, and also discussing how you're tackling your tests to talk about how to approach them in a way that you're comfortable with. We also discuss career. We discuss what your goals are with your degree, what you want to do. And this allows us to help you understand the resources available to you as well. For example, the Career and Talent Development Department, which is a great team of individuals that help you talk about specifics about career, how to go about handshake, internships, things like that. So we do want to discuss these things to ensure that you have a broad experience here with your success coach and beyond. So before we go deeper into the other 3 areas of focus, I do want to ask you, what are some things you can discuss with your coach? Right. I see some answers coming in. Fantastic. Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for answering that question. And although technically we can discuss Beyonce and how awesome her concerts are, as well as that one time in ENC 1101, we do want to discuss time management, stress management, and goal setting, because we want to make sure that we are helping you make those plans for your success. Thank you so much. All right. So as you can see on this slide, we have 3 specific areas that we've noticed have come up a lot in our conversations, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Managing commitments. So as Jackie did touch upon, we understand that you're not just students. You are also brothers, you are also sisters, you are also parents, you're also caretakers, you work full time, you might even volunteer, you might be a churchgoer, you might do a lot of things things in the community. So we do understand that, and we do like to talk about how to manage and balance everything so that you are successful in your courses. When we talk about prioritization and how to manage your time effectively. Health and support. We always want to talk about how you're doing in terms of health, especially the last year has taught us that health is 100% one of the most important factors for success. And it's not just physical health, it's also mental health. So we also want to discuss the resources available to you as a fully online and as an FIU student overall, about the resources that can help you, and talk about stress management, some tips and tricks. That's very important for us to talk about with you. And support. We want to know who's in your corner, who's cheering you on, who's your cheerleader, what does your support system look like? And I would like to add that your success coach is a support system as well. So definitely consider them as part of that. Lastly, finances. Finances are the biggest stressor that we have come across when speaking with students, and paying for courses is a big part of success as a student. And so getting the help you need to do so will always be a priority for us. And thus we will help you make a plan and also discuss what your current plans are and about paying for courses, for instance, and what resources can be provided for you so that you can be able to pay for courses. And of course, Michelle will go into that a little bit deeper. But before we do that, before we talk about finances a bit more, please tell us what focus area is most important to you. Awesome. A lot of good answers, guys. Thank you everyone for answering the questions. This is great information for us to have. Now that you know more about where your most important focus areas are, reach out and set up an appointment with your success coach so that you can discuss those further. And now I would like you to introduce you to Michelle Trochet, who will discuss a little bit more in depth about financial aid. Take it away, Michelle.
Thank you, Yana. So as she said, my name is Michelle Trochet. I'm the financial aid manager for FIU Online. So from your pool, it looks like a lot of you prioritize what you're looking for is finances. So you came to the right place. I know that financial aid is a big talking point and everyone wants to know, where can I get the most scholarships and gifted aid or what we call grants. So we're going to get into that. And we're going to start with what is financial aid? So when we're talking about financial aid, typically you're going to hear words that when we're saying it, we're speaking of federal financial aid. But financial aid consists of anything that's used to provide support to the students or families to pay for your college expenses. And it's divided into two categories. So you have gifted aid, which would be your scholarships and grants. So this would be any type of money that you receive, but you don't have to pay back. Then there's self-help aid. So this would be where loans fall in. So this is considered self-help because after you do receive it and you complete your education, you are going to need to pay it back. And then we have a work study where you have to work to earn those funds. Then the grants are divided in, we have three different categories of grants. Grants are need-based. So this means that when you fill out the FAFSA, if the FAFSA is going to need to determine that you have need in order to qualify for these options. And there's three different types. So you have your federal, which is your Pell Grant, FSCOG, and the Teach Grant. Then we have state grants, which is the Florida Student Assistance Grant, your first generation grant. And then FIU has a list of institutional grants that we do offer, but this is going to be based on the funding that FIU gets. So the funding is limited and you always want to apply early to receive it, but we'll go into what those grants actually are. So here at FIU, we have a number of need-based grants offered based on the funding that we get. So your financial aid offered could have a few different of these on it, as well as the state and federal grants with these on it. So the institutional grants that we have are the Leverage Grant, the FIU Opportunity Grant, the university grant, the differential grant, the upper division grant, and the graduate need grant. We do have a website, the onestop.fau.edu. If you ever need to know more information on these grants, you could just go to that website. In that search bar, type in grants or institutional grants, and the first page that comes up, that'll give you the information. You're gonna find on this page why it's helpful. You'll see what are the requirements to receive this grant. So if you're ever wondering, why did I get this grant? Or what do I need to do to qualify to receive it? It'll be listed there. Or possibly say you were offered the FIU Opportunity Grant, and you want to know, how many credits do I need to take to receive this? This will also be found on this website. So it's a very useful and helpful website. Then we have scholarships. So scholarships are going to be merit-based. So you have private scholarships. So that would be if a scholarship is coming from a foundation or a business, a church, civic or charitable organizations. You have a state scholarship like Florida Bright Futures. And then you have institutional. So this means scholarships that come directly from FIU, and it's going to be based on your academic merit. So here at FIU, we actually have our own scholarship department, which is really helpful and a good resource for the students. And we have a number of scholarships that are offered to students that are just based on when you submit your application. The criteria is going to pull it based on everything that you submit on your application. So you wouldn't need to do anything additional. If you meet it, they would be offering it to you as long as everything was submitted in your application. Some of these scholarships are Merit Scholarship, National Merit Finalists, National Hispanic Scholars, Presidential Scholars, Ambassador Scholars, Transfer Academic Achievement, Gold and Blue Achievement, FIU Raise Me, and then FIU Departmental Scholarships as well. To get to the scholarship website, again, you go to the onestop.fiu.edu website and you type in scholarships. It's going to be the first link, that search link that comes up. And here you'll also find the contact for the scholarship office. So again, if you're wondering, why didn't I get a certain scholarship or what's the status of my scholarship? You can go here and you'll find the phone number, which we also have listed on the website. So their phone number is 305-348-0349. And then their scholarship email is scholarships@fiu.edu. So it's super simple and you can always save it in your contacts of your email list as well. Then we have loans. So not everyone's interested in loans, but it is an option. And for some people, it might be your only option. So it's good to at least be informed on it. So there's federal loans. When you fill out the FAFSA, these are the ones essentially that you're applying for. It doesn't mean that you have to accept them, but it will be offered to you. You have federal direct loans, parent plus loans, and then the graduate plus loan for graduate students. Here at FIU, we have 2 institutional loans. One is the short-term tuition loan, which helps students if they have a small balance left over, cover that balance, and emergency loan, which is if their emergency happens, something happens, you need to get new tires on your car, or your laptop breaks. That may be unforeseen and an emergency because you're online students. You need that fixed ASAP. So the emergency loan is something that would help get you the funds immediately so that you would be able to rectify the situation. And then there's also private loans. Private loans, they're non-federal, but they're also for educational purposes, but it just comes from a private lending institution. So you would be a separate application from the FAFSA. For your federal student loans, so the ones that you'll be offered by filling out the FAFSA, you'll be offered possibly a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan. And then dependent students have the option of a parent plus loan, but that's a separate application. The subsidized loan, it's need-based, but it has the same interest as the unsubsidized loan. So the 3.73 interest. And then the unsubsidized loan is non-need based. So what are the differences and similarities of these loans? They're both federal loans. So the requirements for them are a little similar. You need to be at least enrolled half-time. The repayment is not until 6 months after you graduate, or if you ever fall below half-time, the repayment would start. Where they differ is the subsidized loan is a better option than the unsubsidized, because it's called the subsidized loan because the government subsidizes the interest. So what this means is when you accept the loan, there's no interest accruing while you're in school. The government subsidizes it. And then the unsubsidized loan, you have interest accruing for the life of it. So the moment you accept and receive that loan, you're going to have interest accruing. So we always recommend use the subsidized first before going into your unsubsidized. If you don't need that, don't use it. Use as much of your subsidized before going into, use the subsidized before going into your unsubsidized. And then with the parent plus, It's a separate application, but it's dependent students can co-sign a loan with their parents to get additional funding. So typically this is more for out-of-state students that need a little extra than what's originally offered. So this would be an option for them because they're not offered as much as an independent student. So this is how they can fill that gap if needed. But you can see that the interest rate is higher. So it's a 6.28 interest, but you can get all the way up to your cost of attendance covered with this if it's approved. Then in order to receive the loans, it does require a few additional paperwork. When I say paperwork though, it's a form online. One of them is the Master Promissory Note, which we also call the MPN. And this is just a legal binding contract with the federal government. It goes over all the terms and conditions of the loan, and you're agreeing that you understand it's a loan and you're gonna need to pay it back. The second form is the entrance counseling. The entrance counseling is similar to the Master Promissory Note, but instead of just being a form, it's an actual little course. It goes over the same terms and conditions, but it goes over what it's really like to receive a loan. It'll do a mock scenario of, if you borrow $1,000, what the repayment's going to look like with rent, with bills. And it helps you understand better what you're getting into, as well as to practice healthy borrowing habits. Now, the loans, like I said, you don't have to accept them. When they're offered to you, they're not accepted. So you have to go in and actually decide, hey, do I want this or do I not? So you have to go in and accept and decline them. And this is done through your my.fiu student portal. And you're gonna be offered the maximum full amount, but you do not have to accept the maximum full amount. When you go to accept it, the moment you hit the accept the checkbox, the amount would turn into a text box and you can adjust the amount. Since you're offered the max amount already, you can't go higher, but you can reduce it. So this is why we always encourage only accept what you need. So if you don't need the full amount offered to you, you can put a smaller amount. And again, you only want to accept what you need for your courses and any books and extra like expenses that you think are going to be coming up. So now that we've gone over the types of financial aid, how do you apply for these, right? How do I get all these grants that we just talked about? So you want to fill out the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. So that's what we're talking about when we say FAFSA. The most important thing to hear in this word is free. You should not be paying to complete this. It's through the Department of Education, so it's a government website, and it is free to complete. It's a very easy website. It's FAFSA.gov. If you're ever at a website, it's asking you to pay, you know you're in the wrong place. This application does need to be completed every year. So if you're doing one now for the first time ever, you're gonna need to do one again for the next academic year and every year. So you always wanna put a reminder. The application opens on October 1st. So every year on October 1st or the day before, set an alarm or a reminder so that you know I need to fill out my FAFSA. So right now, if you're starting in the fall, the application that you would need to fill out would be the 2021-2022 FAFSA. And this FAFSA is gonna cover your fall 2021, but also your spring 22 and your summer 2022. So it covers the full academic year. Something to note that when you're completing it, make sure if you're eligible, you use something that's called the IRS data retrieval tool. This essentially is going to take you to the IRS website and pull in either your or your parents' information and fill out the application for you. So this is going to make sure that there's no errors and everything is correct. And the best part is it's going to make processing your FAFSA a lot quicker. So this means you're going to be getting your financial aid offers a lot quicker, which everyone wants to get their money quicker. And then if you don't use the IRS data retrieval tool, or maybe you don't qualify to be able to use it, when you submit it, FAU is going to receive it, but then we may ask for further documentation. So we may ask you, hey, we need information to verify the information you put on your FAFSA is accurate, is correct. So if that happens, you always want to make sure that you're checking your my.fiu student portal to make sure we're not asking for anything and it's holding up us being able to process your federal financial aid. If there is, you want to make sure that you're completing it as quickly as possible, because at that point, you're going to be what's holding it up from being processed. So tips, again, how can I get as much gift aid as possible? Or how do you make sure that your financial aid is processed in time? So when you're completing your FAFSA, once you complete it, there's two things that are going to happen. You're going to be sent a student aid report. It's what we call the SAR. And it's going to list all the information that you listed. Essentially, it'll be your application. It's going to show you the questions and the answers. You want to make sure that you go over that and everything is accurate. If you see a mistake, something that is wrong, you want to make sure that you're correcting it there. The other thing that has happened is the FAFSA is going to determine something that's called an effective family contribution number. It's what we call an EFC. This number does not mean that your family has to pay this much to go to school, but it's what is used to determine what you're eligible for. So it's important to know, one, make sure the information is correct, and see, hey, this is the estimate of what I could be getting. So always review your SAR, make sure that there's no mistakes, understand what your EFC is. The lower the EFC, the better the more money you can receive. So it's a better score. The lowest possible score you can get is a 0. If you're receiving a 0 EFC, that means you're going to be eligible for the highest possible Pell Grant and possibly more institutional grants. And then, as we mentioned, institutional grants, it's based on the funding that FIU has. So you want to make sure that you're applying as early as possible. As I previously mentioned, the FAFSA opens on October 1st. So people have been filling out this 2021-2022 FAFSA since last October. So every year, set an alarm, make sure you're filling it out on October 1st so you have the best chance of getting as much grants as possible. And again, make sure you're using the IRS data retrieval tool. This is going to make processing your FAFSA a lot quicker and not hold up, so that you're able to get it processed, see what your offers are a lot sooner. And then the last thing is you want to make sure that you're putting FIU school code. If you do not list FIU school code, we would never receive your FAFSA. Sometimes transfer students, you're coming from another university, so you think, I've done my FAFSA, I'm good, I don't need to do it again. If FIU is not listed on there, we would never get it. So if you're transferring or you've already done it, but you didn't list FIU, you want to make sure you go back in and put our school code, which is 009635. And if you don't know, you can go in and look at your student aid report, pull up your SAR, and under school codes, if you don't see FIU, that is how you know that FIU is not listed. So some frequently asked questions. Probably one of the number ones we get is students thinking that they're an independent student. I pay my own bills, I file my own taxes, and my parents do not claim me on their taxes. How can I file my FAFSA as an independent student instead of a dependent student? And it's a great question. So the FAFSA determines dependency with these 10 identifying questions. If you cannot answer yes to these 10 identifying questions by the government, Department of Education, you will not be determined as an independent student. So the question number one, those dates change based on the application year, and it's because it's just asking, are you 23? Are you turning 23 this year? You can't answer yes to that, then you got to go to the next one. Are you married? Are you pursuing a master's degree? Do you have children? Do you have dependents that you support for more than half of their support of? Are you an active military or veteran? Or are you ward of the state? Are you illegally emancipated, or you are at risk of being homeless? If you can't answer yes to any of these questions, and it just has to be one, then unfortunately, they're going to determine you as a dependent student, and your application is going to require your parents' information. And as always, there may be some extraneous circumstances, or you may think that there's something that you want to appeal. Reach out to the financial aid office and we'll help you with that. If you really think that you have a situation that doesn't fit any of these scenarios, but you think you should be an independent student, reach out to us and we'll help you out with that. So another common question is, how do I use my financial aid to pay for my charges, right? Like, you've received your financial aid offers, you've accepted them, great. Now you're thinking, what do I do? How do I pay for my classes? I see charges. So your financial aid, when it's dispersed, is going to be applied automatically to your account charges, as long as it's accepted and you're meeting the enrollment requirements. Loans start dispersing a week prior to classes starting. So when I say disperse, that means that it's paid out. It's been applied to your charges. Grants and scholarships, however, they're not going to pay until after the add drop deadline and even after the payment deadline. So this worries students, but you don't have to worry because this is just the normal process. If your scholarships and grants cover your charges, you're going to be held. You're not going to be dropped. When financial aid is accepted but has not dispersed, this is what we call pending financial aid. It's pending because it's accepted, but it has not dispersed. And whenever your pending financial aid covers your charges, you're held, you're not going to be dropped, and you're not going to get a late payment fee. You can also see this by going to your my.fiu account, and it'll show you how it's taking into account your pending financial aid. Now, if your pending financial aid is ever less than your charges, you will be responsible for the difference of what is not covered. Another common question, students think that they always have to take full-time 12 credits, and that's not always the case. So how many credits do I need to take to be eligible for my financial aid? So this differs for everyone because everyone's going to have a different financial aid offers. Some people may just have loans. Some people have a combination of different grants, and the grants all have different requirements. Something to keep in mind, when your financial aid is originally offered to you, it is based on full-time 12 credits. So when I say based, it means the amount that's showing is based on taking 12 credits. So something that you want to look at is, will this offer, so the grants, the loans, do I need to be full-time? So you, again, the website that we listed previously from the website will let you know, as well as if you click the offer on your MyFIU, it'll tell you the requirements. Some require full-time 12 credits, but some don't. Some will prorate and adjust to what you're taking. So a good example of that is the Pell Grant. We have an awesome Pell Grant calculator located on the One Stop website. So if you go to onestop.fiu.edu, type in Pell Grant in the search little bar, first thing that comes up is going to be the Pell Grant calculator. The screen, there's a screenshot on the slide. So this is showing you the Pell Grant calculator. If you know your EFC, you put that in there. If you know you're not going to be full-time, hey, I'm going to be only half-time, you select the enrollment that you're going to do, and then you hit submit, and it tells you what it's adjusted to. So this is a helpful tool to let you know how much you're going to be receiving for the amount of credits that you're taking, as well as will I be getting money for taking less than 12 credits? And then refunds. So what is a refund? Whenever students are receiving federal financial aid or scholarships, if what they're receiving is greater than their charges, the difference will be posted in a refund to the student. Something to keep in mind is a refund will not be processed if there's a hold on your account. So we could disperse, but the refund, the extra funds, will never be posted or sent out to you if there's a hold on your account. Another thing is that if you ever have any issues with your refunds, that's posted by student financials and not financial aid. So if your money has dispersed, then the issue is a refund issue and it's student financials. If the issue is you haven't received the money has not dispersed, well then that's the financial aid office. They're generally processed on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And this is important to note just because it would not post on a holiday. So for example, if it posts on a Thursday, they take about 24 to 48 hours to show in your bank account. If Monday was a holiday, that means that you wouldn't receive that in your bank account if you had direct deposit set up till that Tuesday, because we don't process on a holiday. And the fastest way to get your refund is direct deposit, which is why we encourage all students to set up direct deposit. If not, it's going to be a check in the mail that can take from 1 to 2 weeks. So 24 to 40 hours sounds a lot quicker and better, and you all want to get the money as quickly as possible. So make sure that you're setting up the direct deposit. And if you ever have any questions, you can reach us at 305-348-7272. That's the direct line for financial aid. If you have general questions that aren't financially related, you can just call One Stop. Their email is onestop@fiu.edu, and they also have live chat available. So if I was trying to see, if anyone had any questions in the Q&A, but it looks like everything was answered already. Unless anyone has any last minute questions, they can put them in the Q&A so we can get those answered. But if not, thank you everyone, and I'm gonna pass it to Joanna.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you everyone for attending this webinar today. We hope that you found this information useful. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to your success coach. They are more than happy to help.
And just so everybody knows, the survey link has been shared in the chat below, as well as a link for the PDFs for the financial aid information. This information is also going to be sent to your student email address. So don't worry about it if you can't catch it now. We will definitely make sure to get it to you. So just be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so happy to have you, and we look forward to more webinars in the future. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.